Brian. It's weird to see you on in the morning. I just got on. It's book club time. Hey, Haley. Happy birthday, Haley. Everybody say happy birthday to Haley. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. Good timing. Just got off the train and transferring to the bus. Nice. Good timing. Good timing. Shelly, do you know Brian? Brian goes to shows a lot, so you guys probably cross paths sometimes. I don't know if you guys know each other, but maybe you should. Maybe you should know each other. Ah, that was me dropping my coffee pod. Happy birthday to Haley and happy coffee to me. What's everyone drinking this morning? Anyone got anything good in their cups? Anyone got anything good in the cups? I love my slime so much I was playing with it for so long last night. Yay, I'm so happy to hear that. Yay, yay, yay. I'm so glad you love them. I'm so glad you love them. You're drinking water? That's probably what I should be drinking also. So I commend you for your water drinkage. I saw him in Schubert Alley once. Oh, you do know of him. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. You have a smoothie? Nice. Ginger ale. That makes sense. There's logic there. Hey, Cole. What are you doing for your lady for her birthday? Just water. We're having a water drinking contest at work this month. I will win. Can someone have a water drinking contest with me so that I can get motivated to drink more water? Does anyone want to start one so I can join you? The set falling apart drama. I can't wait to see that show. I want to see it when it comes here to LA, obviously. My friend Marla was in the original Play That Goes Wrong. I will intentionally lose because water is trash. I don't want to run the contest. I want someone else to start a water contest and I want to join. I don't want to be in charge. I just want to be able to join. After Peter Pan fell from the flying ray. Two really big cups. Hi, Annie. Good morning, Abby. Gotta go to Michael's and get my fish next door. Some comments on this live are filtered to protect the community's experience. It's so early for that, you guys. Let's just be nice at this hour of the morning. It's literally 7:09 a.m. No one needs to be saying stuff that's like a gallon water bottle. Hey, listen, I don't need to win. I'm not out here trying to win. I just, I want what little Freaky's got going on. We just keep track of how many cups we drink in our workday and color in boxes to our fridge. I want someone to run that and I want to participate. Sasha, I'll figure out the water contest. Okay, you figure out the water contest and I will join you. Oh, that was terrible. That was an awful pour. Oh. Shameful. Shameful. Shelly, if you run a water drinking contest on your page, I would love that. Anyone want to run that? That was sad. What a bummer. Salted caramel, you. That's okay. It's still better than my mocha Americano, which is 3. I mean, from the same pod, Brian? Why the same pod? Morning, Jaden. Why'd you want to pull them from the same? Are you running out of pods? Do I need to send you pods? Are you going to be okay? You just reminded me to make chai. Yes, I freaking love chai. Dirty chai is one of my favorite drinks, but unfortunately, I would need to make my own because the chai at most places has sugar in it. So I can't have that. But if I made it at home, I bet I could. I almost broke my jaw on a pretzel and then I will be okay, but I won't buy it again. I wouldn't blame you. That sounds awful. I wouldn't want you to buy it again after almost breaking your jaw on it. My name is Kylan, by the way. Little for you is a Harry. Oh, okay. Cool. I made my own at home. That's good. Dirty chai is the only way that I can have coffee. That's fair. I don't like strong coffee. It's more a ritual. That's fair. Coffee making is a ritual for me too, Brian, so I 100% understand that. It's funny when people say that. I didn't know that it was a song. I had 1 cup of coffee before I left. I definitely need to. Yeah. You're making cookies? What kind of cookies? What kind of cookies are you making? Well, chai is tea. I can't drink coffee because it spikes inside. Yes, chai is tea. But what I mean is when you get it at like Starbucks or whatever, it is riddled with sugar, just like absolutely stuffed with it, which is a huge bummer because it's so tasty. I'm going to start a slime shop. Do you have any pointers? I'm scared. Do you want like my real answer, or do you want like a fun, nice Sasha answer, or do you want like the truth? Also, Kelsey Ballerina and her are adorable in person. Just my new favorite couple. What Kelsey Ballerina's been doing is so like, are we all aware of what she's been doing in Tennessee? I mean, like chef's kiss, right? Like, I trust it might hurt, but yeah, okay, Just Christian, if you really want the truth is that if I did not already have a slime shop right now that I started many, many years ago, I would not join the slime community as a seller unless I was doing it just for fun. Well, I mean, Shelly, what you're saying is right. Some people come on here and they want me to just feed them like adorable kindnesses, which I'm happy to do. If you want to hear the like nice Sasha answer, the nice answer of like, how do I get a good slime shop is be creative and be you and try not to do what everyone else is doing. You know, like that's the nice answer. But the actual answer is the slime community is very oversaturated right now because after those of us who organically started doing it in 2017 for the true love of it, there are people who got in it because they saw that there was money to be made and they joined and they oversaturated the community with negativity. Because they thought that there was money there and all the businesses got in and like different things like that. Like all the big business started joining the slime game. So it's way oversaturated. And unless you already have a built-in customer base of loyalty, it's going to be very hard to build a brand in the slime community at this time, unless you have some really cool ace up your sleeve and you've created a new type of slime that we don't know about. That's the true answer. Yeah, mornings are for reading and I don't make slime in the morning, but the question that this person had was a legitimate question. I've been making slime for years now, but never selling it. I think it's fine and I love it. It is fine, and I'm so glad you love it. If you're doing it just for fun, then it's great. Do it. Do it just for fun. And if you're selling it, not needing it to be your, most people think they're happy when they're really just stupid. Diana Goodman, great line. No, Sasha, someone said make slime. Yeah, no, I know. I saw the person demanding as well. No, I know. I was just clarifying for the person who asked the good question. If you are making slime and you want to sell it just for fun, but it does not need to be your source of income, great, do it. That sounds great. I love it. I'll support you. Send some to me. I'd love to play with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's always beef in the chat. Don't worry about it. So yes, I would also love to be going to London for Next Normal because London is my dream place. No, but you know what? I will fit. Actually, Brian, you probably would fit in the suitcase if I would fit in the suitcase, huh? My fault. I wasn't meaning it in a mean way. Sorry. That's okay. Maybe we learn to rephrase our questions. I've tried making slime, but it's so difficult for me. I understand that. A lot of people struggle with it. I have proven that I can fit in Shelly's suitcase. I've proven it. Yeah. I got in a suitcase to prove that I can fit. So it's not hard to be polite. You're right, Shira. I tried to make cloud slime and I could never get it right. Try my recipe. My recipe's fairly foolproof. Has anyone on here tried my cloud slime recipe? Morning, darling. How's Moana feeling? You can just wear a corn costume every day. Well, she's going to Next to Normal, so she should just wear a doctor's coat every day. Oh my God, does Zoe still like the prince? Zoe loves the prince. When do y'all make slime? Is it a night thing? Afternoon, night, yeah. Generally speaking. Yeah. We all still love the prince. It's true. We all still love the prince. I don't think he's been on his TikTok. So y'all, my existence is an next normal costume. Same. That was not what I thought when I saw a slime tutorial, right? Seriously. Brian, I reached out to Bad Cinderella. They did not reply. So I'm going to have to just make my own Bad Cinderella slime tutorial. But anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about. Looks like all the money is yours. All the money? What money? I got money? How did I get money? I would love to have money. How do I find your slime recipe? You can find my slime recipe. Wait, reach out to Kobe Casal. He's doing a lot of influencer outreach with him. Will you message me that name so I don't forget? But I don't know who that is. Sasha, did I tell you I'm also seeing Groundhog Day in London? No. If Bad Cinderella doesn't take the idea. Oh, yes. What time do you usually make slime at? Kind of whenever I feel like it. I make slime all day and I go on live whenever I feel like it. We're all still recovering. The cough is awful. Ugh, I'm sorry to hear that. Cole just got home breakfast and he said that he messed it up. He's always saying that. Yes, what Liz said, I have a slime guide on my website and I also have video tutorials here on this page. Depending on what kind of learner you are, if you're a visual learner, you might want to have the videos. If you are the type of person who needs written instructions, you would want to download the slime guide. He's the 26-year-old founder of Theaterly. Very cool, very cool. Some people like to have the slime guide and watch the videos. Some people like one or the other. Whichever is good for you is good for me. That's why I made both, because people asked me to. I made both because it was requested. What coffee are you drinking today? It's just my regular, I just make myself a latte every morning. Pretty standard stuff. You're currently sick right now too? I'm sorry. So many people are sick right now. All right, let's get to reading because we are addicted to this story. I don't think Brian knows this. Brian, I don't know if you know, but in the mornings we have book club and we're currently reading Chris Coffer's Land of Stories. It's been great so far. Super into it. I've been pitching him to be his CFO. Dude, you should do it. You should do it, Brian. That would be amazing. It's the 28th anniversary of our favorite. Today is the Goofy movie 28th anniversary. Oh, I'll have to post my Powerline slime today. Luckily, it's done being made, so I'll have to post it. Open up your eyes, take a look at me. And 28 is my favorite number. That's a big deal. Ooh, 28 is my favorite. Oh, I know. And now that I don't work in publishing, I don't care about audiobook copyright. Yeah. Well, because we kind of like discuss as we go, I think that there's like a little bit of a less copy. Yes, there is a Powerline slime coming. I'll post about it today since today's the anniversary. Okay. You all know that I forget stuff, so I'm going to rely on Shira. Yeah, we said happy birthday to Haley in the beginning of the thing, but everyone could say happy birthday to her again, but we gave her a huge, huge happy birthday in the morning. Can someone remind me, because y'all know I have no brain cells, they don't sue, never worry. Yeah, no, I figured they wouldn't. That it's Powerline's 28th birthday, and also to check in on the Friends slimes because it's been 10 days now. Are we going to pop them today, you guys? Are we popping the Friends today? It's been 10 days. We've never waited this long. I waited the 10 days like everyone said. Okay. So does anyone need a refresher on what happened at the end of... Thank you, Shira. I appreciate you. Does anyone need a refresher about what happened at the end of chapter 4? Because things are crazy. Things are getting crazy up in this house. Literally. At the end of chapter 4, Connor ran into Alex's room when she was sticking her hand into the book and she fell in. She fell in the book, okay? So, yeah, I gotta go to work actually. Have a good day. You too, Brian. See you later. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. So she fell in, and that's where we're picking up. Chapter 5 is called From the Mouth of a Frog. Alex was no longer in her bedroom. She was following into a world of light. She fell farther and farther, faster and faster. She was dizzy and scared. She screamed out for help, but she couldn't hear her own voice. Would she ever stop falling? Was she going to die? Was she dead? She wondered if she would ever see her family again. She could hear birds chirping and trees billowing in the wind. The noise seemed to get closer and closer, but she just kept falling and falling, not knowing where she was falling to. Ouch! Alex said, hitting the ground. Her impact was hard enough to hurt, but not hard enough to seriously injure her. Had it not been for the rough landing, she would have thought she was dreaming for sure. Alex quickly got to her feet. She felt her pulse to make sure her heart was still working. She was still alive, from what she could tell anyway. She was so thankful to finally have stopped falling, but where exactly had she fallen to? She was standing on a dirt path in the middle of a thick forest. The trees were tall and dark, with bright green moss covering their trunks. The sun's rays shined through a light mist. Birds squawked from high in the trees, and if she listened closely enough, she could hear a tiny stream in the distance. Alex spun around, looking in all directions, her breath increasing as she took in her new surroundings. Was she overreacting or not reacting enough to what had just happened? And what exactly had just happened? She looked up to see if there was an opening that she had fallen through, hoping to see some sort of window into her bedroom, but all she saw were tree branches into the sky above her. Where am I? She asked herself. Ah! As if he had fallen right out of thin air, Connor landed on the ground beside his sister. He was pale and screaming. His limbs were stretched out in all directions. Am I alive? Am I dying? Am I dead? He asked from the ground with his eyes closed tightly. You're alive, Alex told him. She had never been so happy to see him. Alex, is that you? Connor asked. He slowly opened his eyes one at a time and looked around. Where are we? He asked as she helped him to his feet. It looks like some kind of forest, she said. It was unlike any forest they'd ever seen, in real life at least. The colors were so vivid and the air was so crisp. It was as if they had fallen into a painting Alex was positive she had seen before. Look, Connor said, pointing at the ground, all of our pencils. The path was littered with the pencils that Alex had been dropping into the book all week. She also found her school bag and a few of her dirty socks in the middle of the mess. But where were all the books that she had dropped into the land of stories? So this is where they all went, Alex said. But where is here? Connor asked. How far from home are we? Alex couldn't answer him. She was starting to become just as worried as he was. They were worse than lost. This is all your fault, Alex, he said. My fault, Alex yelled. We wouldn't be here if you had just knocked on my door instead of barging into my house like everything was on fire. I knew you were planning this, Connor said. I had to stop you. I wasn't planning on going into the book. I was just testing it out, Alex explained. You didn't have to follow me here. Oh, sure. Was I supposed to just leave you in the book by yourself? He exclaimed. What was I supposed to tell Mom when she got home? Hi, Mom. I hope you had a really good day at work. Alex fell into a book. By the way, what's for dinner? Give me a break. Connor began jumping upwards as high as he could. What are you doing? Alex asked. We fell from somewhere up here. There's got to be a way back, he said. But all the jumping was pointless. Connor eventually tired himself out and took a seat on the ground against a tree trunk. What if we were transported to another country or something? Connor asked. His forehead became more wrinkled as he thought about it. What if it took us to Canada or Mongolia or somewhere? How long is it going to take for Mom to find us? Suddenly, the ground started shaking. A powerful rumbling consumed the forest. The branches of the trees shook, and the small rocks on the ground began jumping as something massive moved closer towards them. What's happening now? Connor yelled. Let's take cover, Alex said. She grabbed her bag and the twins ran off the path into a little forest and took refuge behind a particularly wide tree. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. A huge cavalcade of soldiers on white horses rode past them. Their armor was shiny and clean. They carried green and silver shields with a large red apple painted on them and waved large flags with the same design.
Alex, did we go back in time? Connor anxiously asked his sister. That looks like something straight out of medieval times. The pencils were all obliterated under the horses' hooves. The soldiers were moving at such a fast, forceful pace that none of them noticed the awestruck twins peeking out from behind the tree. Alex was fixated on their shields. A red apple was such an odd thing to be displayed on a shield, but there was something so familiar about it. She couldn't put her finger on it. The rumbling slowly faded away as the soldiers disappeared down the dirt path. The twins both stayed behind the tree for moments, making sure the coast was clear. I don't know about you, but I've had about as much excitement as I can handle for one day, Connor told Alex. A poster pinned to a nearby tree caught Alex's eye. She walked over to it and pulled it off the tree for further inspection. It was old, with faded writing, and a picture of a disgruntled-looking little girl with curly blonde hair was pictured on it. The poster read, "Wanted, dead or alive, Goldilocks, for burglary, thievery, and running from the law." Alex's face went white. She stopped breathing for a moment. She had realized where they were. No trees had been so recognizable. She had seen pictures of them so many times growing up, but the book had taken them to the exact place that she had hoped. Is it possible? She asked herself. The wheels in her head had never spun as fast as they were now. Is what possible? Connor asked. Do you know where we are? I think so, Alex told him. Where? Connor asked, fearing the answer. Connor, we went into the book, she explained, but he wasn't following her. I think we actually are in the land of stories. She handed him the wanted poster and he read it. His eyes grew as wide as a lemur's. No. This can't be happening. This is crazy, he said, shaking his head. He handed the poster back to his sister as if it were infected with rabies. He couldn't believe what she was saying, and he didn't want to believe what she was saying. Are you telling me we're in the fairy tale world? I'd recognize this forest anywhere. It's straight out of Grandma's book, Alex said with an unplanned smile. But it makes perfect sense. Where else would it have taken us? We just fell through the book. Nothing makes sense, Connor said. So are we stuck here or what? Hold on 1 second. The live is going to pause for a second. My sister just texted me, like, I need a lot of help this morning, so I need to see what that means. The live's going to pause for 1 second.
Okay, hi. Am I back on? Can you hear me again? Are we alive? Is everything working? Okay, sorry about that. We are back. Welcome back. She's okay. She's dealing with some stuff that is, pregnancy related. So she's gonna bring Zoe over here and then, get some rest. Hold on. Yes, I totally agree with that. Better to be safe than sorry, period. Be prepared, as Scar would say. Scar. Sasha, we need to get you a second phone. Yeah. Sasha also to the rescue. Yes, Zoe will come here and Catherine will sleep. She had a rough night, which happens, when you're about to give birth in 3 weeks. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. All right. Where were we? Sorry about that interruption. I don't have all of your answers, Connor, Alex said. Don't forget, all of this just happened to me, too. Connor began pacing around the trees with his hands on his hips. I can't believe I ditched detention and wound up in another dimension, he said. That's really funny. Actually, this is a great line. I'm going to read that again so that we get the full effect of it.
Connor began pacing around the trees with his hands on his hips. I can't believe I ditched detention and wound up in another dimension, he said. Alex was rather grateful her brother had come after her. They'd lived together all their lives and had been in the same classroom since kindergarten. She didn't know if she could handle being in a different dimension by herself. I hope you're happy, Alex, Connor said. I told you we should have thrown that book in the creek. Enough with the blaming, Alex said. It doesn't matter how we got here. The point is that we're here now. What matters is finding someone who can help us get home. Excuse me, may I help you? Said a proper voice behind the twins. They jolted at the sound of another voice beside their own. They turned around to see who it was, and once they saw, they both wished they hadn't. Standing behind Connor and Alex was what could best be described as a frogman. He was tall and wide-faced, with big, glossy eyes and shiny green skin. He wore a dapper three-piece suit and carried a large glass jar of lily pads. Forgive me for eavesdropping, but I'm rather good with directions if you need some, he said with a very large smile. Alex and Connor were so petrified that they were paralyzed. If they needed any more evidence that they were in the fairy tale world, this was their proof. You look awfully young to be in the forest by yourselves, the frogman said. Are you lost? Connor let out a high-pitched squeal that lasted longer than it should have. Please don't eat us, he said, and he dropped to the ground in a fetal position. The frogman looked at him with a frown. Young man, I have no intention of eating you, he said. Is he always like this? The frogman asked Alex. Alex responded with a squeal almost identical to the one her brother made. I know, don't worry. I'm used to people screaming at me, the frogman told them. Get it out of your system. The shock will only last a minute. Kids will do anything to avoid detention. Of course the teacher pops in to say that. Of course he does. Of course. He's going to go back and tell Mrs. Peters, you don't understand. I wasn't in detention because I was in another dimension. She's going to be like, sure, Jan, sure. That's really funny, Will. You have a good sense of humor. We're sorry, Alex finally managed to say. It's just that from where we're from, there aren't many, frog people. Sorry if that isn't the politically correct term for what you are. Connor let out another high-pitched noise. It wasn't a scream this time, but it was embarrassing nonetheless. The frogman studied their faces and paid special attention to their clothing. Where exactly are you from? Pretty far from here, Alex said. A piercing set of wolf howls echoed through the forest. All three of them jumped at the sound. The frogman looked around the trees with fear in his big, glossy eyes. It's getting dark, the frogman said. We'd better get inside. Please follow me home. It's just a few minutes' walk from here. Nice try, Connor said. The wolves' howls echoed again. This time they were much louder than the first. Whenever the wolves were, they were getting closer. I know I look scary now, said the frogman to the twins, but I'm nothing compared to some of the creatures that lurk around in these woods at night. I promise I will not harm you. There was such concern in his eyes, it was hard not to trust him. The frogman took a brisk walk deeper into the forest. Alex nudged Connor. We better follow him. Are you crazy? I'm not going home with a giant frog, Connor whispered to her. What do we have to lose? Alex asked. Besides our lives, Connor said. Despite his protest, he was dragged up by his sister and pulled in the direction the frogman was leading. The twins hurried behind the frogman for a good while. They zigzagged between the trees and jumped over boulders and tree roots that snuck up from the ground. The deeper they went into the forest, the thicker the trees became. It got very dark very quickly, and it was almost pitch black by the time they reached the frogman's home. Alex and Connor stayed together. With every step, they second-guessed if they made a smart choice going with this strange creature. This way, he said. The frogman brushed aside some dead vines growing over a large wooden door that was camouflaged into the side of a small hill. He pulled the door open and led the hesitant twins underground. He looked back into the forest, making sure that they hadn't been followed before shutting the door behind him. It was very dark underground. Alex and Connor were so close together that they might have been mistaken for Siamese twins. Forgive the mess. I wasn't expecting company. The frogman apologized and lit the lamp with a match. Alex and Connor didn't know what to expect of the frogman's home, but what they were seeing definitely wasn't it. They were in a large room with dirt walls and low dirt ceilings. Roots from the tree growing above grew down like a chandelier. A cluster of big, cushy chairs and sofas, many of the cushions had stuffing sticking out of them, sat in the center of the room and were angled to face a small fireplace. Nearby, teacups and pots hung from the hooks over a tiny kitchenette. To Alex's delight, there were books everywhere. Shelves of books lined the dirt walls. Piles of books were stacked on every available surface on the ground, and as if the room were infested with literature. "Connor," Alex whispered to him, "look around this place. It's like we're having our own Lucy and Mr. Tumnus moment." Connor looked around and saw what she meant. "If he offers us Turkish delight, I don't care what you say. We are getting out of here," he whispered back. It's a little dirty, but it's cozy," the frogman said. "It's hard to find a landlord who will house a frog, so I did the best I could with what I had." He placed his jar of lily pads on the mantel and immediately started the fire in the fireplace. He filled the tea kettle with water from a pitcher and placed it over the fire and took a seat in a big, white chair closest to it. He crossed his legs and folded his hands neatly in his lap. He was one proper frog. "Please have a seat," the frogman said, gesturing to the sofa in front of him. The twins reluctantly did as he asked. The sofa was rather lumpy, and they had to shift around it to get their seats to be comfortable. "What are you?" Connor asked the frog. "Connor, don't be rude," his sister said, elbowing him in the side. "It's quite all right," the frog said with a complicated smile. "I understand that my appearance takes some time to get used to. Even I haven't fully adapted to it yet." "You mean you weren't always, a frog person?" Alex asked, as politely as she could. "Heavens, no," the frogman said. "I was cursed years ago by an aggressive witch." "Why?" Alex asked. She was fascinated by how casually he said it. "To teach me a lesson, I suppose," the frogman told her. "I used to be a very vain young man. The witch transformed my appearance so I would lose all of the things that I took for granted." His wide smile faded softly. It had obviously been very long and very painful experience for him. He still had a sad sense of loss and longing about him. The twins had never seen a frog look so sad. "I can't even imagine what that must have been like," Alex said, beaming with sympathy. "Can we call you Froggy?" Connor asked with a small smirk. "Connor!" Alex reprimanded. "It's quite all right," the frog said, and he nodded, his smile in return. "I've learned that the more people that embrace their disadvantages, the less disadvantaged they become. Please call me Froggy. I'd prefer it." Connor shrugged his smile. "May I get you some lily pad tea?" Froggy asked the twins. Both of the twins nodded. They didn't want to be rude. Froggy retrieved the tea kettle from the fire and hopped, literally, to the kitchenette and poured water into 3 teacups. He opened a jar on the mantel and dropped a lily pad into each teacup and stirred. "Do either of you take flies with your tea?" he asked, reaching for another jar on his mantel, one filled with dead flies. "No thanks," Connor said, trying to quit. "Suit yourself," Froggy said, and dropped a few flies into his tea. He handed them each a teacup and reseated himself across from them. They stared down at it for a few moments before deciding they'd at least pretend to drink it. "What are your names?" Froggy asked the twins. "I'm Alex, and this is my brother Connor." A large happy smile came to Froggy's face. "Are you by any chance Alex Bailey?" Froggy asked, grinning from ear to equivalent ear. Yes." Alex was shocked. How did this amphibian know who she was? "As in, this book belongs to Alex Bailey?" Froggy asked. He leaned over the side of his chair and pulled a stack of books, opening one to show the phrase written inside. "Those are my books," Alex said excitedly, recognizing the books she dropped into the land of stories. "I was wondering what happened to them." "It was so peculiar," Froggy explained. "I was out collecting flies and walking down the path to the swamp when one just fell from the sky and landed on my head. I returned the next day and found several more in the same spot. It was the oddest thing that's ever happened to me." "You mean besides being turned into a frog, right?" Connor asked. "Because if I were you, that would be on the top of my list." "Ouch!" Alex elbowed her brother. Froggy ignored Connor and went on with his explanation. "As you can see from my shelves, I love to collect books, especially when I'm not expecting to," he said. "These books were unlike any I had ever read. They described people and places that I'd never seen or heard of, and I thought that I had seen it all. These authors wrote about such interesting places. Could you imagine a world without witches, trolls, or giants? What imaginations!" Froggy chuckled at the thought of this. The twins laughed along with their best fake laughs as they could muster. Please keep them. I have duplicate copies at home, Alex told him. Froggy was delighted to hear this. Uh-huh. Connor cleared his throat. Speaking of home, I don't mean to interrupt this little book club, but we're very lost and we'd like to know where we are. Froggy's glassy eyes went back and forth between the twins, watching them closely. Oh, children, you wouldn't be here if you knew where you were, Froggy said. You're in the dwarf forests. He had expected to get some sort of worried reactions from the twins, but Alex and Connor just stared up at him with very little expression. The dwarf forests? Alex asked. What are the dwarf forests? You've never heard of them? Froggy asked, completely appalled. The twins both shook their heads. It's a very dangerous place, Froggy told them. It's the only designated area of land without a ruler or government. It's a kingdom where everyone is their own king. Used to be populated by dwarves who worked the mines. Now it's full of criminals and fugitives, mostly. A place where people go when they don't want to be found. Knowing that they had not only traveled into another world, but they were in a dangerous part of that world, did nothing to help the twins' anxiety level. Are there other kingdoms? Alex asked. Froggy was stunned, as if she had just asked him what the color of the sky was. However, he seemed to be enjoying their unfamiliarity. Of course, he said. There's the Northern Kingdom, the Sleeping Kingdom, the Charming Kingdom, the Connor Kingdom, the Fairy Kingdom. The Corner Kingdom, not the Connor Kingdom. The Red Riding Hood Kingdom, the Elf Empire, the Dwarf Forest, the Troll and Goblin Territory. How can you possibly not know this? This was difficult for the twins to wrap their heads around. How big was the fairy tale world? Their puzzled faces inspired Froggy to hop out of his seat and cross to one of the bookshelves and return with a large rolled-up scroll. He handed it to the twins, and they unrolled it. It was a large, very detailed map of the new world they were in. The fairy tale world was a wide continent bordered by mountain ranges and covered in forests with castles and palaces and villages scattered all around. The Northern Kingdom was the largest of the kingdoms. It took up most of the map. The second largest was the Charming Kingdom, and it spread across the south to the third largest kingdom, which was the Sleeping Kingdom, which stretched along the east, and the Dwarf Forest covered the majority of the west. The tiny Corner Kingdom was tucked away in the southwest corner of the continent, and in the northwest corner was the Elf Empire. In between the Charming Kingdom and the Sleeping Kingdom was the Fairy Kingdom that was just above the Troll and Goblin territory. The Fairy Kingdom looked beautiful. It was very colorful, and it seemed to sparkle off of the map. The Troll and Goblin territory looked frightening and appeared to be surrounded by large boulders and rocks, preventing anything from coming in or going out. In the center of it all was the Red Riding Hood Kingdom, circled by an unmistakable brick wall of gigantic proportions. Alex and Connor couldn't believe it. The world they'd grown up hearing about was real. It was all real, and it was bigger and better than they ever could have imagined. Alex couldn't help but get emotional. Tears began to flood her eyes. Together, all the kingdoms create the happily ever after assembly, Froggy explained. The happily ever after assembly? Connor asked with a slight touch of sarcasm in his voice. It's the organization formed to uphold the treaty that all the rulers signed so that the kingdoms could live in peace and prosperity, Froggy told them. Sounds like our United Nations, Alex whispered to Connor. All the kingdoms have their own traditions and celebrated histories, Froggy went on. And their kings and queens are there, I'm assuming? Connor asked. Oh yes, Froggy said. The Northern Kingdom is ruled by Queen Snow White. The Corner Kingdom is watched over by Queen Rapunzel. The Sleeping Kingdom, formerly known as the Eastern Kingdom, was renamed after the dreadful curse which was placed on, it's governed by Queen Sleeping Beauty. And, of course, the Charming Kingdom is ruled by King Charming and his wife, Queen Cinderella. Wait, are these current monarchs? Alex asked with a spark of excitement in her eyes. You mean Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, they're all still alive? Of course they are, Froggy said. Oh my goodness, that's wonderful, Alex said excitedly. Isn't that wonderful, Connor? Whatever, Connor mumbled. How old do you think they are? Froggy asked. Queen Snow White and King Charming have only been married a few years. Queen Cinderella and King Charming are expecting their first child soon. Queen Sleeping Beauty and King Charming are sadly trying to restore their kingdom to consciousness after that horrible sleeping spell that it was placed under. But wait, Connor said, are you saying all of these queens are married to the same guy? Certainly not, Froggy said. There are 3 King Charmings. They're brothers. Of course, Alex said. Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty all married Prince Charming. There's more than one. How come I never thought about that? Connor's eyes were fixated on the map. He kept searching for some kind of road or bridge that would lead them back home. But he found nothing. Why are there a bunch of rocks around the troll and goblin territory? Connor asked. As punishment, Froggy said. Trolls and goblins are nasty creatures and have habits of kidnapping people and turning them into slaves. The Fairy Council forced the trolls and goblins into one territory, and none of them are allowed to leave without permission. Fairy Council? Alex asked. This world was almost too good to be true. Yes, they're a group of the most powerful fairies of the kingdoms, Froggy explained. Cinderella's fairy godmother is one of them. So is Mother Goose, and all the fairies that blessed Sleeping Beauty when she was a baby are on it too. They rule the fairy kingdom, and they're the leaders of the Happily Ever After Assembly. Is the Red Riding Hood kingdom under some sort of punishment too? Why is there a huge wall built around it? Alex looked down at the map and then back up at Froggy, equally curious. That was the result of the CRALWL revolution, Froggy said. What was the Crawl Revolution? Alex asked. The citizens' riot against the wolf Liberty, Froggy explained. The Red Riding Hood Kingdom used to be a group of villages in the Northern Kingdom that were constantly under attack by wolves. They begged the evil queen, Snow White's stepmother, who was on the throne at the time, to help them. But the evil queen was too occupied with her vanity, so they revolted and they started their own kingdom. They built a huge wall around it so no wolves could get in. And now Red Riding Hood is the queen? Alex asked. Yes, she's the only elected queen in history, Froggy said. The villagers figured her story was the most symbolic of their struggle, so they chose her to lead them. But isn't she just a little girl? Alex asked. No, she's a young woman now, a very self-obsessed young woman from what I hear. After all, she named the kingdom after herself. Her grandmother does most of the decision-making while she takes all the credit, Froggy said. Unfortunately, the CRAWL revolution only led to the rise of the Big Bad Wolf Pack. The Big Bad Wolf Pack? Connor asked. Yes, they're the descendants of the original Big Bad Wolf. They travel around terrorizing villages and attacking unsuspecting travelers, Froggy said. Oh, joy, Connor said sarcastically. I'm sorry I asked. But beside that, things are very peaceful throughout the kingdom, Froggy said. His voice drifted off and uncertainty grew on his face. That was until a week ago. The twins leaned forward. What happened a week ago? Alex asked. The evil queen escaped from the dungeon of Snow White's palace, Froggy told them. I thought everyone had heard about that. It's news to us, Connor said. That can't be good, Alex said. How did she escape? No one knows, Froggy said. She just vanished. Along with her magic mirror, Snow White's army has been searching throughout all the kingdoms for her. They pass through these woods at least twice a day. So far, they've found nothing, not even a footprint to lead them in her direction. Do you think they're going to find her? Connor asked. I hope so, Froggy said. She's a very dangerous woman. She's the only queen in history to lose her throne. I can't imagine the revenge she must be seeking. Who knows what she's planning to do next? Alex suddenly became very tense. It had just occurred to her, along with all the characters she had grown up loving, all the ones that she hated and feared actually existed too. This made her feel very uneasy and very unsafe. The fireplace had begun to fade. Froggy got up to add another log. The twins' eyes and mouths were wide open and their heads were spinning from all of this new information. Exactly how far away from here do you live? Froggy asked as he sat back down across from them. The twins looked at each other, back at Froggy, and then back at each other. They didn't know what to tell him. Would he believe them if they told him the truth? Well, it's practically a different world, Connor said. Alex shot him a dirty look and nervously laughed, trying to make light of what her brother had just said. Froggy wasn't laughing. He sat up straight in his seat, and his face grew very still with an intensity in his eyes as if he had found the solution to a mystery. In interesting, Froggy said, eyeing the twins back and forth, because if I didn't know better just from the way you dress and the way you speak and the way you were so surprised at basic history, I would say that there was a very good chance that you were indeed from a different world. They didn't understand what he was trying to say. Did he know something that they didn't? Just out of curiosity, have you ever heard of another world? Alex asked him. Or preferably how to get back to it, Connor added. Froggy studied their faces more intently for a moment. He got up and went to a bookshelf on the far side of the room. He rustled through the books looking for something of special interest. He finally found it, a small leather-bound journal with a red band around it. Have either of you ever heard of the wishing spell? Froggy asked the twins. Alex and Connor shook their heads. Froggy flipped through the pages of the journal. I assumed not, he said. It's a legendary spell comprised of items, and apparently, when you put the items together, you're granted one wish. It doesn't matter how extravagant the wish is, the wishing spell will grant it. Many people believe that it's only a myth, and I did too, until I found this journal. What does a journal have to do with anything? Connor asked. It was written by a man from the Charming Kingdom, Froggy said. He managed to discover what these items were, and he recorded them on his journey to find them. His one wish was to reunite with the woman that he loved, and in the journal he claimed that she lived in another world. Alex and Connor sat up straight. They were sitting on the edges of their seat without realizing it. I thought the man writing the journal was crazy. I didn't believe that another world could exist until I began finding your books, Alex. And then when I saw you bickering in the forest, I knew you two were different, Froggy said. I knew you had to be from the place that that man had written about. The twins were happy the truth was out. There's a man, and the one he loves lives in another world. Do you guys think that maybe... Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Maybe? No, it's a man. I think it's their dad. What if it's their dad? Maybe. I don't know. I knew you had to be from the place that that man had written about. The twins were happy the truth was out. Froggy seemed genuinely excited about it. Did he make it? Alex asked. Did the man cross over into the other world? He must have, Froggy said. The journal ends when he found the last item. Oh, maybe not. Froggy handed the twins the journal and took a seat in his chair. Wherever you're from, if it's a home that you wish to go back to, I think your best chance is by following this journal. The twins were silent for a moment. They stared down at the journal in his hands with immense hope. Well, what items does the spell require? Alex asked. All sorts from all over, Froggy told her. But the journal involves instructions on where and how to find them. Some are very dangerous to get. My thought was either that or someone for their teacher or their grandma. Yeah, it could be. But I think their grandma's been here before. So I think she can go in and out. Of course they are, Connor said. Typical. If the spell will grant whatever wish you want, why didn't you search for the items and wish to be human again? Alex asked Froggy. Froggy thought about this for a moment. It was a question he had asked himself many times, and he was ashamed of the answer. I've kept the journal all these years in case I ever decided to. Oh, all these years. So maybe not. Froggy explained with difficulty. But searching for the items would mean that I'd have to face the world looking like this, and frankly, children, that's not something I'm ready to do. It's something I don't think I'll ever be able to do. He spoke from a place of deep sadness. Clearly, he wasn't finished learning the lesson the witch had given him yet. It's getting late, Froggy said. Why don't you sleep on it and decide what you want to do in the morning? You're welcome to stay here as long as you like. Thank you, Alex said. I hope we aren't a bother. No bother at all, Froggy smiled earnestly. Froggy got them a large blanket to share. He blew out all the lamps and put the fire out in the fireplace. Alex and Connor tossed and turned with thoughts of the wishing spell all night. There was no decision to make. If the journal could possibly offer them a way home, they would do anything and everything it instructed them to do. They had no choice. They were about to embark on the greatest scavenger hunt of their lives. All right. I was going to try to read 2 chapters today, but since Catherine has to come over early with Zoe, I need to get going and get the power line filmed and all that stuff. So I'm going to go, and we will read more tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Oh, why am I so tired all the time? All right. I will see you all later, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.